It's when you're not being hacked, it's actually really difficult to prove that you're doing something well and you're not being hacked. If you're not being hacked because you're not a target, or you're not being hacked because you haven't found it, or are you not being hacked because an organization that's providing you security is actually doing a good job? So I asked a couple of organizations if they could give, rather than use ourselves, to give me some examples for this presentation. And I got a small American company to give me an example of what they do. So Intel, what they have started to do is actually start to measure how long it takes to respond to an incident, how long it takes if something new comes up to protect, what that has an effect on how many incidents they can deal with a day, what it means in gaps in coverage, what it means for their confidence, what it means for the amount of people that they need into there, and how much manual intervention does it get. So they've started to measure this to prove a business case of why you might want to do different things and security in a different way. And what they're really trying to prove, and they're doing it for a reason, they're doing it because they've got this thing called integrated architecture, and they're trying to prove that if things talk to each other in a more open way, that actually you can speed things up and you can add some real value and you can save money. And I think some of the things that you see on there are just ways of beginning to measure this. Now, as a security professional, that sort of sounds alien when you're used to having stamps all the time. But the other piece, I used to work for Nortel Networks, and at the time, probably one of the bigger, before the dot-com crash, probably one of the biggest providers of comms equipment in the world. And the telecoms industry are actually really good at measuring stuff. But it's taken them a long time to get there. And I began to question, why did they do it? Why did our switches that we used to build in Nortel, why were organizations like BT wanting to do it? Why did Vodafone really want to measure to do it? And actually, it's about billing. It's about charging people. So the telecoms industry got really good at this because they wanted to prove to customers that actually what they did was worth you paying for. And I guess what I'm saying from a security industry point of view is I think we're coming to the point now where we're going to have to do similar things. We're going to have to prove to people as an organizations that we can do value, and a side effect to that is that organizations will find it a lot easier to actually prove to people that they're doing something well and things are changing on a day-to-day basis. And what Intel then do with that is they use the classic data, as Myron was mentioning this morning in the panel, to start to dashboard this stuff to give people a top-level management view of the security status of their business. And it tends to show where you've got to do stuff and where you haven't. And actually, interestingly on this, all the red ones are all the things that are supposed to be easy and simple to do that actually organizations find really difficult to do, because it's easy to do if you've got 5 or 6 machines. If you've got 10,000 machines, it's a little bit harder to keep these things up to date and make it happen. So then I began to look and say, that's all really intrusive. So I've really got to get inside a customer to tell them what's wrong with his security. So in that first engagement as a security professional, how can I actually give them a measure and ask them to get them to believe? Is there anyone out there doing anything independent? So talk to some people in the insurance industry about how they were trying to do this, because cyber insurance at the minute is very much in its infancy. The policies are, I guess, quite basic, and what they're trying to work out is who's really at risk? How do I know how I should set the policy level? Because at the minute it's either really expensive or you've got loads and loads of exclusions that makes it really difficult to claim if you are actually hacked. So what do you do? And I guess one of the companies that I looked at is a small American company. And interestingly, this has been set up by a financial guy, not by a cybersecurity guy. He's employed a load of cybersecurity guys, and what he's trying to do is organize a company that gives you a rating. So this organization are out there. They're driving ratings on any company that's connected to the internet. So any organization that's there, this organization's using publicly available data to actually score your organization. So if you're connected to the internet and you're a listed company, you will have a rating on this system already. I asked them what the Quintiq rating was and looked at it to try and understand and see if I could match what these guys were seeing from the outside to what I knew what was happening on the inside. And actually, there were some areas where it didn't quite match, but I could understand why, which was good. And I guess the second piece was there was some areas there was a massive synergy, and you could understand why they were coming up with a rating. So what these guys are doing are trying to basically sell a service to say, I can easily give a company a rating to say where it is. From my point of view as a service provider, it begins to think, actually, wouldn't that be great if I could go to an organization and say, I've knocked your rating when you joined us was 250, right at the bottom, and we've took you to 900 in a day. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I think that's probably a little bit optimistic, but in reality, small increases and showing value is a way to do it, and having someone independent to tell you that it's different, I think would be really good. So how do these guys do it? Just for some of the people in there, what they're doing is they're basically they bought a couple of organizations out there that basically do widespread threat intelligence using honeypots. And they're looking at botnet behavior and things like that on the internet, looking to see on your IP address ranges if you've had any activity, and critically, if you responded to that activity and even noticed that you've had that activity on your network. And the better you respond, the more likely it is to do it. We've looked at this for a number of our customers just to get a rating because they're connected to the internet as well. And actually, there is a correlation between change and these ratings. So I'm not underwriting them, but I'm saying there is something there. This is at the start of a journey, and I think this will mature. So the next question I ask myself is this actually market-driven or government-driven? Why do people, who wants it? Who wants to pay for it? That's probably the more important one. And then I thought about it. What about security by design? Okay, security by design is really interesting. I got asked the other day is why does no one design perfect software? I think we got a good indication of that this morning in the panel discussion. A, people want it quickly. B, people don't want to pay for it. When I joined and did military software back in the 1980s on 80s compilers, you were generating about 5 lines of code a day. That is expensive. Compare that to this app-driven API world where your software code will grab something from over there, something from over here, I have no idea what it really does, stick it all together and generate a new system and say, look at this, look at all it flashing and whizzing, look what it does. This will drive business forward without even thinking about even the basic boundary test on how to test this thing. Insurance. I think insurance will change this. I think people will discover that they want to get insurance. It will become a business risk. When it becomes a business risk, people want to lay that off. To get good insurance, you're going to have to prove you're doing something about it. Legislation. Problem with legislation is it lags. The new data protection stuff coming from the EU that's coming out and effective next year